Anthony, you want to do the prayer?
I can.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, what time are we getting to? 6 o'clock. You want to go ahead and call her then?
Yeah, go ahead and give her a call. It's time to get going. All right, it is 6 p.m. and we're going to call this meeting of the Trousdale County Board of Education to opened. We have one member that is sick, so we're going to call her on the.
Hello.
Ms. Waller?
So she can follow along.
Okay, Mr. Kerr is calling the meeting to order right now, so I'm going to let you join in.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
At this time, would everybody please stand for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings bestowed upon each and every one here. Lord, be with us tonight as we make decisions to help our school system, help our employees and our students, and help us make those decisions that will keep us safe. Lord, thank you for these holidays. Most of all, thank you for dying on the cross for our sins. I ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, if there's anyone in our audience that would like to speak to an item on the agenda, please come forward and sign in. Okay. Not having anyone wishing to address an item, I will then ask for approval of tonight's agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I second it.
I'm trying to get my mouse.
Okay.
Approval of the agenda, take action. Okay, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, second by Ms. Towns.
Okay, gotcha.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Please say no. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So we have our agenda set for tonight. First item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We discussed these pretty good on Tuesday night at our work session. Please look through those items there and see if there's any that you would like to pull and move into new business. Okay. I would now consider a motion to pass the consent agenda.
I make that a motion.
Motion by Mr. Crook to pass the consent agenda. Second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. She there?
Yeah, she's here.
You there, Regina?
I am here. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. Just checking.
I got you.
All right, we don't have any school district highlights, and we have given our principals tonight off. I hope that all three of our principals, all of our administrators, students, and staff are enjoying their Christmas vacation, which begins tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a safe and prosperous and well-earned break, for they've surely earned it. Next is our COVID report. Are you doing that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Satterfield will deliver our monthly COVID report.
Mr. Kerr, would you like for me to sit here or move to that there?
Can y'all hear us? Why don't you move over there then, if they're having trouble hearing you?
Get them a couple chairs and move them on up here.
Closer now. Can you hear me a little bit? Good, good, good. Well, first of all, I'm here for Kathy Atwood, our health director. She has had knee replacement. She is doing well. I've talked to her today. She's actually getting up and down stairs slowly, but we're really proud of the progress she's making. And we hope that and pray that she'll have a speedy recovery and get back to us the first of the year. The information that Kathy has provided for you is in the blue folder. The first report is the same report that she just updates the data in the purple and gold, and this is our school COVID report for the year thus far. If you look on the second row, you will notice that over on the far right, on the total, we have had a total of 38 positive student cases this semester, and a total of 25 positive cases from our employees, for a total of 63 for the year. One of the things that she asked me to be sure to emphasize is when she reported to you in November, we had 33. So that moved up 30. It doubled on us in a month's time. If you also notice down at the very bottom on the row that says not returned to school, as of today of 12/17/20, we presently have 77 students in quarantine, and we have 17 employees in quarantine. And that was 21 a week ago, Friday, and basically is what made us move to distance learning for the middle school and the high school this week. So we presently have 94 students and employees on quarantine at the time. The next sheet is one that she provides you each month, and that is the White House Task Force map, and it gives percentages per 1,000 population. Last month we were orange, which means our percent was between 8 and 10. This month we have moved to red, which is the highest, indicating that we're over 10% per 100,000, and we're no better off than the other surrounding counties and mid-state counties around us, and that this is the first time that we haven't been less than our neighbors. The next report that she has is the COVID data snapshot, and the first one is Trousdale County, and the ones behind it are all of our surrounding neighbors. If you look at the last statistics on the bottom right-hand side of the page, it talks about over the last 7 days, the average percent positive for this month in Trousdale County to date. It's 19.3% over the last 7 days. That number was 2.9 for us in September, and it was 12.12% in October and November. So we've gone up about 7% since last month. When you compare those sheets to our surrounding neighbors, we still fare better than Sumner County at 22.8%, Wilson County at 22.4%, Smith County at 20.6%, and Macon County at 15.9%. So these were the key things that Ms. Atwood asked for me to share with the board. And do you have any questions?
Any board member have a question for Dr. Satterfield? I might just make a comment. I was watching the news before I left and came tonight, and Governor Lee and I'm not sure what time today he gave this, but they were covering it on the news. He has probably come out with his most strongly worded plea for people to wear masks, wash hands, not gather as much as we have been, just, because the numbers have risen drastically over the state of Tennessee. Some of you may have seen on the news that Tennessee is now leads the nation in the percent of cases, not numbers, but the percent. And the doctor from Vanderbilt was on, and he was talking about how we don't want to get like Southern California in their hospital situation where their ICUs, they now have none available. And that's got to be just really bad. So things are not going well on that front, and everybody acknowledges that. And so hopefully when we come back in January, maybe things will have gotten better. Thank you, Dr. Satterfield. But you might as well stay there.
Yes,
because
sir.
you're up next with with your report.
Okay, first of all, let me see if I can find that sheet there for just a second. I think the first one is our employment report. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. You have this in your materials, but I'll go ahead. We have we've had 2 resignations over the last month. Ms. Peggy Fisher resigned from driving our special ed bus, and Coach Matt Dyer resigned to take a head coaching position at his alma mater, Smith County High School. And like I told Matt, I wish him the best of luck except for 1 game a year, and that's when he plays the Yellow Jackets.
I noticed that we're on the schedule now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's great.
Matt and Blake have worked that out, and it's really good. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about the opportunity for Matt as well.
Should be a very good money game if things are back to normal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Therefore, we have hired Douglas Adams as the special ed van driver. You might not know Douglas, but that is Melissa Lurch's brother. So Miss Lurch is doing a great job as special ed supervisor. It's very hard to fill those positions. And she found her brother and put him to work. So he's doing a great job, and we're excited about that. We have also hired one of our former employees, Jason East, as a substitute teacher. I think he's been utilized every day since we've hired him. We also hired Miss Gracie Hammock as substitute teacher. She's working for us over the holiday break. She's doing her student teaching at one school the first semester, and she's going to do it at another school. And it's good to have her at the high school, and we're thinking about trying to hire her, so we're trying to for her to get used to what we do, and we get used to her, and she's been a really big help here in December since she's been out of school. And I think we'll also be able to hire when she's out for spring break, and then there'll be a couple of weeks that we can use her before school's out. So we're excited to have her. Mr. Curry, you just signed the employment contract of Justin McGettigan. He is going to be the PE teacher and assistant football coach to replace Matt Dyer. I actually met Coach McGettigan at the Austin Peay Career Fair in November. So he's a midterm graduate, and this has worked out both for him and us, and we're excited to have him. The other 2 is volunteer assistant baseball coaches that Coach Cothran has recommended. Luke Ferguson and Houston Stafford both have played for the Yellow Jackets, and they're going to be volunteer assistants for us. And I have laid the wrong.
That's okay. Y'all able to hear better now?
Proximity helps a lot. For the academic updates and reminders. Our seniors completed the ACT on Saturday. I put that in your newsletter. Just, we really give a big shout out to Miss Dickerson and Miss Jessica Cunningham, Shelley Cook, Cecilia Stricker, and April Holder for putting that together. And, you know, they started about 7 o'clock that morning and didn't get done till about 1:30. So we really appreciate their efforts in making that happen. We had about 38 seniors take advantage of the free opportunity, and it was very successful. I try to compare you about we want to try to be sure that all our students are prepared for college and careers. Our FAFSA filing rate now is up to 60%. We've got 50 out of 84 that's already completed their FAFSA rate. Again, that's to commend the guidance department for the work they've done, and we've also had 100% of our students complete the Tennessee Promise. One of the things I'd like to tell the board about, and I know we're going to meet with our legislatures, it looks like that's going to be January the 6th. I've been in contact with Representative Weaver and Senator Hale, and we're pretty much penciled down January the 6th. We're looking at a time right now. We haven't nailed that down, but it looks like it's going to be sometime in the morning, so you'd be done by lunch. The big thing here, and I talked to Senator Mark Pody with this today, trying to get some support, but Senate Bill number 9 is a dual enrollment bill, and presently right now, the dual enrollment grant pays for the first course at $500 full, the second course full at $500, the third course at $250, and the fourth course it doesn't pay for any. So this bill, what we're trying to do is be ensure that each one of those 4 courses are paid for in full at $500 a piece. And in 2005, when the dual enrollment grant came out, it paid for 4 full courses, or 12 hours. But with rising tuition costs, then they've had to resculpture that, but they've never added any more money to it. So that's the work that we're trying to do. And if you ever run into your legislators, if parents are listening to this tonight, this is certainly something that we want to refresh so that the dual enrollment grant does what it was originally intended, and that's to provide 12 credits for our students while they're in high school. Talk to you a lot about student enrollment. We are 45 students less than we were at the same time last year. That number was 32 in October. And almost all of the difference is at the middle school. I have 15 less 6th graders, 20 less 7th graders, and then 15, and 10 less 8th graders. And so that's where we are right now. Just want to make sure that you, and I try to do that with your newsletter, and each time I speak to you, and being sure that our parents listening are aware of our school closure plans. And it would be worth someone's while to go to our district website. Over on the left-hand side, about the midway down, it says school closure plans, and then they can get the school closure plan for each one of the schools. But generally speaking, that when we move from our hybrid model, even our hybrid model has instruction every day. The learning space is one day it's learned from school, the next day it is learned from home, and that alternates. However, some people don't feel the learn from home piece quite as well as the learn from school piece. But when we move from hybrid to our distance learning model, then students are doing 5 days of work online. So there's no days off. But there never has been any days off. But that's something that, we're trying to communicate with parents a little bit more. I know, Mr. Sullivan, you and I talked about that a little bit as well. Grades 4 through 12 will utilize their Chromebooks and Google Classroom. Those Chromebooks, even if they don't have internet, have the ability to work offline, so they can come and get into a Wi-Fi area, download their assignments, upload their assignments, and then we also have Wi-Fi hotspots in the parking lot of each of our 3 schools. Grades K through 3 is a little bit more of a challenge. They work on analog. All their lessons will be posted on the teacher websites, and the student work is turned in by submitting a picture of student work to the teacher. And then they can also pick up the paper packets from school at the beginning of each week. However, we are not going to mail paper packets this year. We learned from last spring, if we mail them on Monday, then sometimes they'll get them on Thursday or Friday, and the postal service has not worked well. So they have to go online to the teachers' websites, download the materials, they can see the videos, they can download the materials, and then upload the student work products back to the teacher. Also, if we're closed, if a school is closed, it's just a school is closed, that school will serve lunch to students from 11 to 11:45, and if the entire district is closed, then we will serve lunch at the high school from 11 to 12:30. So if that one school is closed, we serve lunch at that particular school. If the whole district is closed, we serve lunch from the high school. Now, we did not serve lunches while the middle school and the high school was closed this time. And the reason being was, the reason we was closed, we didn't have any food service staff to start with. So that's what got us in that predicament there. Also update you about our basketball game procedures. We're scheduled to play Red Bull and Springs at home tomorrow night at the high school. The game starts at 6 o'clock. We're making our extracurricular decisions on a case-by-case basis. I tried to tell you in the newsletter, I also talked to the Vidette. So far, if I had some wood to knock on, I would. But so far, every basketball game that's been canceled or postponed has been the responsibility of the team. They're the ones that have been infected. It has not been us. That may change. And Coach Sleeper just texted me a few minutes ago and said they had canceled the Watertown tournament set for December the 28th and 29th. That has been canceled as well. We are limiting our gymnasium. All of our games, junior high and high school, are played at the high school. We are limiting all the people that's in the gym to 350. That counts players, coaches, and everything. Well, we encourage people to stay home if they can, and to watch it on the National Federation of High School Sports Network. They can do that for $10 a month, and it's a pretty good opportunity to safely watch high school sports. We have got to emphasize that when you come to an extracurricular event, it is a school event. We require masks of everybody that enters school. And if we do not honor that, then we have no other choice than to cancel immediately that extracurricular event, and just to make everybody aware, if cases continue to increase and we don't adhere to the mask policy, then we would probably move to having our games with parents only, so to help that out. The last thing that I have, any questions on academic updates and reminders before I go to, I close with construction updates or project updates?
Any questions for Dr. Satterfield? Hey, Clint?
Yes, sir.
Could you go back to the 45 less than we had last year, the students?
Yes, sir.
What was the number in middle?
45.
Okay.
It was 45. It was, we're 15 less students in the 6th grade, 20 less students in the 7th, and 10 less students in the 8th.
Okay, good deal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Lastly, Mr. Kerr, is our project updates. We had a construction meeting yesterday with the architect and the roofer. It was a good meeting. It was raining, so we couldn't get on the roof, which was probably a little bit better. So we walked the building and looked for leaks. And what we noticed is that they started on this end, they started on this 6th grade end and this 8th grade end from north, working south. Of course, they have a lot of trim work to do and flashings and those types of things, but pretty much the 6th grade wing, the 8th grade wing, the office area that's given us so much trouble, going all the way down to the 7th grade wing are under roof. They're moving down toward those restrooms and that ag, that indoor ag, where the ag shop used to be. So that's where they're working. And I was really, really impressed that we went in this terrible teacher work area, principal's office, and it has not leaked. It hadn't leaked in a while. And Miss Gilder was even working on, she was confident cleaning it up that it wasn't going to leak anymore. So we've seen that come together quite well. Tomorrow will be their last day. They're going to take 2 weeks off. They will not return to January the 12th. Of course, we've added the gymnasium. That'll be the last. I think he's going to start doing some of that in about 2 weeks. But he thinks it'll be the end of March before he's completed. But it's really helping the school. It was long due. Some teachers' rooms that had buckets. They still have buckets, but they didn't have any water yesterday in their buckets. So that was good to see. So, Mr. Curry, that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Satterfield? It's good to see the teachers. You could see they were prepared, had their buckets still out, but it was even better to see that they were empty.
Right.
They were dry.
So maybe the next move is we can get rid of the buckets
Maybe we can get rid of a bucket or two.
Now, Mr. Curry, I would like to add one thing. Is
Yes.
now, one of the things, and we can walk the building at some point in time, but once we get this building under cover and dried out, there's going to be a lot of work replacing ceiling tile and painting in some places that's been damaged, but we'll certainly have to talk about that when we make some budget decisions in the spring.
Sure. No use doing that until we're satisfied that we've dried in really well. Okay, thank you, Dr. Satterfield. We will now move on to our new business. First item under new business is our second semester reopening plan. As we have been talking about every month since July, is looking at the data which Dr. Satterfield provided us from Kathy Atwood, our COVID report. And we've looked at all the new data each month. We've talked about what the governor has said on the news and those type of things. And we've always had good, robust discussions among ourselves as to what we think is best for the students of Trousdale County, teachers and staff. It kind of surprises me tonight that we are the less attendance that we've had since you've been on the board so far. Isn't that right, Jason?
Yes, sir.
And so hopefully that's a indication that people agree with what we've been doing to this point, or it may be a resignation that of what we've been doing. Sometimes you just have to resign yourself to the fact that things are as they have to be. But on Tuesday night, we had another really good discussion with each board member about the reopening plan for the second semester for Trousdale County Schools. And at this time, I'll open up this item for any board member that would like to discuss anything.
Mr. Kerr,
Yes, ma'am.
as we spoke Tuesday night, the hybrid program has worked well for us through the fall semester. And with the cases increase like they have all across the state of Tennessee, I feel like that we need to continue with the hybrid, at this point in time. I can't see doing anything else. More.
Right.
Like going back more. I can't see that.
Thank you. Any other board member like to make a statement? Okay. I agree with Ms. Towns. I think that for the continuity, so that parents know what our schedule is, it's worked about as well as it could have worked up until this point. We made it all semester until this week without massive closings. And if it's going to be a week where we have some of those, the last week of the semester is probably the best time that we could have had it. I think parents appreciate the fact that they've been able to have all this time to get their babysitting in order, their family schedules down, those type of things. And while we know that that's been a terrible imposition on them and their families, friends, grandmothers, I'm sure, and things like that, hopefully it's gotten to the point now where everybody knows what they're doing. So I agree with Ms. Towns that the current hybrid plan that we've been operating under for the first semester is what I would think needs to be continued in the second semester. Anyone else like to make a comment?
I'd like to comment.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that all the people because there's not that many people in attendance tonight, and the people that are watching, and I know there are several, know that when we have those meetings on Tuesday night every month, that this has been discussed long and hard. It has not been something that's just been rushed through by no means. We've had long work sessions. So just, and like I said, I agree with Ms. Towns. I think we're at a point now that if we want to keep going, we're on the right track. There's no, I don't think anybody, regardless of what you feel about hybrid or going 5 days a week, you certainly don't want it to be no days a week.
Right.
So I think that's the best course for now, and and I think we'll continue to discuss it as we move forward into the new year. But that's all I have.
Okay. As I said, we have had robust discussions.
Very robust.
Over this situation. All right, anyone else?
I will say this, it's been a trying time for everybody, and I agree with Ms. Towns. This thing just keeps growing like a fungus. I mean, it's, where does it end? We don't know yet. But we surely we got a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. And I think what we're doing is really good to keep our students at least something. And I think we're on the right track.
I will say that also on the news, I just kind of caught the tail end of this. I don't know if it was a legislator who made this recommendation or whether it was a health official, but it was pertinent it was someone in the state of Tennessee, and they were recommending that teachers be moved up on the vaccination schedule to receive the vaccination. As we discussed Tuesday night, that's what's going to get schools back open as quick as anything. One of the things they mentioned, we know that the positivity rate among students is pretty low, but teachers and staff, it's been higher than what it is for students. And so they have recommended that teachers be moved up on the hierarchy of getting those shots. And I think maybe with a middle school math teacher that I'm aware of that just loves vaccination shots, I'd love to see her as the first participant in that program, to be a leader and an example for all teachers in Trousdale County. Hopefully that'll happen. Okay. Does anyone have a motion to make on the second semester reopening plan?
That we reopen under the hybrid plan.
Ms. Towns makes a motion that we continue the hybrid plan that we've been under since July, that we start the second semester continuing that plan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Crook. All in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to pose the question about the amount of time. You know, one of the things that, you know, we talked about at the work session of the night, from the beginning, you know, I've asked to do it on a semester by semester basis. And at the work session of the night, you know, that's what I proposed. And also, the board has the opportunity at any time they want to, is to bring it back up, is what I'm saying. But we've got to go into assessment schedules, benchmark schedules. We need to land the plane about who's in virtual, who's in hybrid. And there's a lot of factors with assessment and accountability that some stability and continuity would help us. Now, if it gets eradicated and stuff, you know, the board can call a special call meeting at any time and hopefully put us back to 5 days a week. But I would like for you to consider the length of time in this motion as well.
Well, I think the way we just said that at the work session Tuesday night was that if or when we are able to change school attendance to full-time or even any other amount of time, that we would definitely have to take under consideration testing schedules, the credit situation at the high school, all the various factors that come in with making sure that we are able to adequately manage the education of the students of Trousdale County. Because the last thing we want to do is throw out something and do something that adversely affects our children's education. And most of this would be on the high school level because of credits and things like that. But when the state legislature convenes and if they start talking testing and that type of stuff, then Dr. Satterfield and his staff will have to come up with a testing schedule with the principals at each school, and there are little intricacies that affect each school differently than others when it comes to testing. And so we would have to honor or to look at those and make sure that anything we did not interfere with that type of scheduling.
Yes,
Is that satisfactory?
Yes.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is that good?
So,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Curley, we're basically committing to the hybrid schedule for the second semester.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, unless there's any unforeseeable changes.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to let you look at this motion and be sure.
And if I can say this for everybody listening, make sure, this is something that will continually be discussed. It's not, I mean, we're setting that for the rest of the second semester, but it will continually be discussed and assessed what's going on as to,
Exactly.
you know, it's not just done and done, it's just trying to make a plan.
Right.
Is that,
We have to be able to give our central office staff our principals at each school and our teachers at each school guidelines to go by so that they can prepare for upcoming testing and things that they have to be prepared for. We need to make sure we give them a fighting chance.
Yes, sir. So I wrote it to begin the second semester with the present hybrid model and continued it for the rest of the semester.
That's fine, because it would take a vote of us anyway to change that, so I think that's very appropriate. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Towns, that was your motion, is that?
That is what the
Okay.
intent anyway.
Okay. All right.
I've got Ms. Towns making the motion.
Mr. Crook seconded.
Okay.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. It does pass unanimously.
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right. Our next item on the, under new business is changes to our strategic compensation plan that we discussed on Tuesday night. And since these are some changes that are pretty drastic for teachers, I'm going to ask Dr. Satterfield to just kind of summarize what we talked about on Tuesday night.
Mr. Carter, first of all, is to take us back to August, and that our strategic compensation plan was suspended. So we don't have a strategic compensation plan at this moment. The only thing that we did agree to in August was that we would not hold the teachers accountable on the absenteeism. So where we had done that to receive bonuses and stipends, we removed that because the last thing we wanted to do was people trying to come to work when they may actually be carrying the COVID virus or something like that. And we notified teachers of that at the beginning of the year. So hopefully that's helped a little bit. Of course, the state requires that each school district has a strategic compensation or a differentiated compensation model. And we have not submitted that this year, and they're asking for a submission. So one of the things that I was pausing on, of course, we wanted to see if we stayed in school and, you know, were we going to assess, were we going to do teacher evaluations, and then also what were those annual measurement objectives, those AMOs, what were those targets? The state board approved those AMOs in November, and they didn't take them down, and they didn't take them up, and they kept them exactly where they were in the prior year. So you've seen all that from the work session. So the components of that is, you know, first of all, I'm asking you to reinstate our strategic compensation plan. We think that's a good thing. We think it's also going to be possible. The governor says that he wants to have the state TCAP assessment this year. And the state has told us to prepare for that. We will start that on January the 4th. Now, there's a lot of conversation, and I was on the horn with 10 legislators today, is I do think that the legislature will address accountability much like they did last spring, and they closed the teacher evaluations, and they didn't do the TCAP assessment. I think the best thing that we can hope for is that they would do the TCAP assessment and we would be able to complete the teacher evaluations, but those schools and teachers and students would be held harmless. So we would only use those results to make instructional decisions going into the 21-22 year. As we know, the teacher evaluation process is the meat and potatoes of professional development, is having those conversations and, you know, about instructional improvement. So, you know, it's not the score, but it's so if we can have the process and then we don't hold teachers, responsible for that under these circumstances, but I think we'll get a lot of help with that. So, but the idea is that We are going to have a teacher evaluation as far as we know right now, and we are going to have a TCAP test, and that sets us up for the strategic compensation model. The strategic compensation model, one of the pieces was that we would suspend the annual increase to baseline pay. That is tied to the teacher evaluation. We did not get a teacher evaluation last year. We did not tie salaries to teacher evaluation because we did not have one.
Got a question.
Yes,
We've
sir.
been doing observations this first semester?
Yes, sir.
We have?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're on schedule. Now, we didn't start them until late October because we were, again, waiting to see if we was going to stay in school. We was waiting to get some guidance from the State Department, and we've got that, and we're on schedule with that. So that would take out that section, and then everything else would stay in place. And then the only things that would change is the school-wide rubric, and I've recommended that you take out a few indicators. One that's common to all three schools is the parent satisfaction survey. We do that. Ms. Young knows how to do the parent satisfaction survey. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you and I have talked about the parent satisfaction survey. Yeah, and but see, we do that at our parent-teacher conference. And with COVID, we may not have a parent-teacher conference. So it would be probably safe this year to suspend that piece, and also the Dibble's reading indicators, because that's a self-assessment, and that's been a tough challenge. And actually, Ms. Badrew wants to get a different instrument to do that in the future. So these things that we suspend, we can bring back in future years, but it makes sense because of the landscape that we're in that we suspend these things for the time. And lastly, Mr. Kerr, is over on the eligibility rules. Ms. Young, it's ironic she's here. She actually worked on that committee that built this plan many moons ago. But adding a line number 19, it's on page 24 of your booklet, is that all employees must be currently employed by the district at the time of the payment to receive a bonus stipend or award. So other than retirement, that the teacher would have to be with the district at the time the payment was made. We have had some issues, and it's all about teacher retention, is that we've had teachers who have returned in the fall, but then after some time have left the district to go to another district, and then we've actually sent them their award months after they've already left the district, and that was not the intent of this. It was a piece for teacher retention. Now, if he was in the shape of somebody like Coach Dyer, he's already been paid out, and he leaves in his last day today, he would receive that payment. But those are the components of the edits to the strategic compensation plan that I recommend for you.
What was that part called that you said take out?
To take out the, let's see, the annual increase is the baseline pay that's tied to the teacher evaluation.
I got it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
And then also taking out the parent satisfaction survey
Well, okay, yeah, I got
and the
that.
Dibble reading indicators.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it now the time to ask?
Sure.
Okay. We were talking about at the work session, we were talking about that the teachers were going to be evaluated on a statewide, right? Teacher against teachers statewide,
That was the value-added growth.
evaluated growth.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. The intra-year comparison,
Yes.
where they only compare student growth in 1 year's period of time, not over a period of years.
Right.
So each Each test, each cohort of students stands alone in a single year.
And that's a state decision. That's something that we can't change or add. I mean, they're the ones that say this is the way it's going to be.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
On the increase to baseline pay we're talking about taking out, dumb that down for me a little bit. I mean, why are we taking that out?
Okay. First of all, we didn't have a teacher evaluation last year,
Okay.
so that didn't take place. I don't have a magical crystal ball. I don't think it will take place this year. I don't think teachers are going to get a score. I think they're going to be held harmless. Hopefully we get to complete the process, because I think the process is good. And then the other piece is that I just think it's really been hard on principals. I think principals are making an instructional decision, you know, when they're making because right now, with the TCAP test, the way it's fallen, that as much as 70% of the teacher evaluation score is a subjective opinion of the principal, 70% of that. And then a lot of times that the principal is, in the back of their mind, is not making an instructional decision, but are factoring in that a teacher increased the baseline pay. So, you know, they're saying, well, you know, if I scale it a half a point, you know, they'll make this much percentage more or less. And a lot of times that conversation, in that evaluation conversation, becomes a salary conversation instead of an instructional conversation, for which we never intended for that to happen. And the caveat to that is the board can give teacher raises at any time it so chooses. Mr. Kerr, I think, articulated it best the other night. He said, what we're doing here is taking the onus off the principal and putting it more on the Board of Education.
It's not that teachers won't be getting an increase to baseline pay. It won't be through that system anymore. It'll be through a decision of the Board of Education.
And that was my biggest concern.
But now on that principal, now that principal's not making a monetary decision on an employee.
You know, that conversation could have been, it could have been a retention piece could have come in there or something like that. And that's just not what the observation piece is about.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, we knew when we started this, I mean, there's a lot of literature, and it says that a good model has to be changed, you know, just like a man. Thomas Jefferson said he has to change his clothes. He can't wear the same suit he did as an adolescent. You know, he has to grow, and our plan has to grow and change so it'll be a good plan. And my recommendation to you, the reason being is that I just don't feel like that having an instructional decision and a principal having to make a salary decision at the same time, I just don't think that's what principals signed up for.
And I think Dr. Satterfield said it well. It just, things change over time. We've had this plan now for, I know, 10 years, if not longer. And it's not unusual to tweak plans as time goes by and you see things change within them that need to be changed.
And Mr. Sullivan, may I add, and then if it doesn't work, we can come back at another time as well and reinstate it as well.
Other questions? Because this is one, when you start talking, you know, we're here and this is going out, and I imagine a lot of our teachers are watching this, and when you start talking about ways that they get paid, their ears perk up, and I don't blame them. They should. And so we want to make sure that we understand this, and that's why, again, I emphasize that, and Dr. Satterfield has too, is that the onus for this now comes back to the 5 members of the Charleston County Board of Education. So, it's now on us if we pass this.
Well, I want to say one more thing. I actually have someone who is watching, who's
Sure.
reached out to me, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea who it is.
That's
I
okay.
wouldn't even tell who it was anyways if I did, but I'm going to tell you. They actually messaged me in this conversation and said, the baseline pay increase was one of the major selling points of the beginning of this entire process of alternative-based pay. Now, I'm not savvy with all the way this stuff works.
I would disagree with that statement. I would not disagree with that statement.
And then followed by, many of the teachers were sold on the fact that you would over time get a continued opportunity to increase your baseline instead of just following the step model if it was sold entirely on increased baseline pay opportunity.
Well, I can see where they're coming from, because what they're saying is that depending upon their evaluation scores, their test scores and everything, then they were going to be guaranteed certain step increases. So those, if you have a good year, you're going to be guaranteed one. If you happen to have a year where you fell into the 1 or 2 range, then you weren't going to get anything. And like Dr. Setterfield said, is right, this was a selling point for that. I've never made any bones about the fact that I have never been a big proponent of this plan from the beginning. And Dr. Satterfield knows this, and y'all have heard me state that before. So I am definitely in favor of this, but because I personally feel that the Board of Education is best situated to look at what our teachers are doing and look at our scores and look at the direction that our schools are going in, and we can reward them accordingly. And we could reward every teacher in that building or in the school system accordingly, not just those that scored a 4 or 5. Now, you may not understand what I'm talking about, but the teachers listening at home know exactly what I'm talking about. Am I right, Ms. Young? They know what I'm talking about when I mentioned scores 1 or 2 on their, or 4s and 5s.
Well, I know I've heard a lot about y'all talk about that scoring system.
And another thing you can do, again, you can add some pieces to it. I mean, you're still keeping your hard-to-staff components and your performance. And, if down the road, if you want to add money to the baseline, you can do that. If you want to add more to the other pieces like hard-to-staff or performance, you can do that. The reason I say this is that the principals, it's become a thing where the principals in the back of their mind, and it's been said to me more times than one, that I'm making a salary determination, and that doesn't feel good. The principals didn't sign up to do human resources. And they should be able to evaluate their teachers based on instruction other than if they're going to get a salary increase or not, or how much that is. I just don't think that's good for principals, is what I'm saying. But I think that you can, in time, and this is one of the reasons I'm recommending this, is we didn't get a teacher evaluation last year. I don't have a magical crystal ball, but I'd say that teachers are going to be held harmless to some extent this year. And it would give us a little time to see how that works. But we can always come back to it, is what I'm saying.
Well, another question they had, and I'm sorry, it's helping me learn with their questions because I'm not as familiar with it. So how is the baseline pay increase figured?
It's based off of their state baseline. So whatever you've looked on your.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
On page 18.
Well, I don't have it with me tonight.
But the
Actually, it was in a
percentage is
different picture.
calculated off their state baseline, not their total. It doesn't, we don't add it to their state and their local. It goes to their state baseline. Because really, that's the only increase that we get from year to year is if we get an increase to the BEP salary schedule, then they give us a little bit more money. But, we don't get that from the county on a regular basis. I think, Mr. Kerr, we talked about the other day, it's been 15 or 16 years between improvements to teacher salary from a county standpoint.
The state, Mr. Sullivan, has what they call a state salary schedule. And so when you see on TV, the governor will, he will, and hopefully he will again this year, ask for let's say he's going to be really good this year, maybe a 5% increase to the state salary schedule. What they will do is they know what their state salary schedule is, they'll multiply that by 5%, and then they'll just give us a portion of that. They don't necessarily even give us all of that to begin with. But the extra money that they get, teacher gets, like bonus money or hard to staff money or their local supplement, that's not included in that. So hopefully that, and see a lot of especially someone that's come to work in our system over these past 10 years or so, they have not been under any other system. They're not like a lot of our veteran teachers that were under the old system and then came under this when this came into effect many years ago.
Well, if you've answered this, then just say you answered it, because like I said, this is new to me, and maybe I didn't word it right. What factors are used to determine the baseline increase in terms of evaluation?
Okay, it's multiple components, and even those components are set by the state. So there's an observation piece. Typically, when this thing started, the observation was 50%. And then it has an achievement measure piece that's 15%. And the teacher, in collaboration with the principal, gets to pick what that 15% is from a list of items. The other 35% comes from the value-added growth. And if a teacher is a tested teacher and they have 10 students or more, then they get a growth score. And then, so their 35% is based off their growth, 15% off achievement, 50% observation. That has changed over time. When TCAP failed, when they didn't have it last year, that 35% has been moved over to the observation piece. So now that observation piece, that subjective opinion of a principal of subjectively evaluating a person, has moved from 50% to as much as 70%, which puts more of that pressure on the observer. And hopefully one day we get testing right and that'll get regular and those things will balance out. But the observation piece, because that's all they've got, has, as testing has failed, that observation piece has increased. But how it's weighed is a state decision. So, it's state law, 15%, 35%, 50%. And then we even do a student survey piece that counts as part of 5% of that observation piece. So if it was, if state law says 50% and we do a student survey, you take 5 off of that, so you get 5% for the student survey and 45% for the principal's observation. Does that help any?
Well, it's going to help the person asking the question more than it's going to
Okay.
help me, because,
Okay.
I work in a different world when it comes to that. So I'm here to help with a lot of things, and some things is just the
And
way it all works.
like
is a little
Dr.
bit over.
Satterfield said, those components are set by the state.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, I understand there's no testing, so you don't have your principal doesn't have all those factors to look at. But the principal is the boss, per se, of the teachers, correct? Well, I'm a manager as well over a group of people, not as many people. But that's part of my job, is to deal with their increases in salary or what, so I mean, that is part of your job as a manager. So saying that, you're taking it away from them, I mean, I understand what you're saying with the testing and so on and so forth, but I do feel like that is part of their job, I mean, y'all may not disagree with that, but I'm just saying
No,
that.
it still is a part of it. As a principal for 20 years, that is a big part of the job. Employment decisions are one of the biggest decisions that a principal will make in conjunction with Dr. Satterfield. But I would look at each component that we just talked about, their observation, their growth, their achievement. I looked at things, how well they interacted with their fellow teachers and worked together, and a lot of, as you know, since you do that, a lot of different factors go in to a manager's decision on rehiring or retention. And this just happens to be one piece of it, where the state sets most of the parameters, and the district, the principal, has very little to say about it, because the state said this way it's going to be, grade them on this. If that helps any.
Well, I understand that, because, I mean, you're in a situation where the school system's dictated. I'm not in my job. You know what I mean? I can base it on anything, I tell people all the time, I'll take work ethic over experience any day.
Let me also add, I was just looking at the plan, just for reference. The hardest staff teachers pay somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 annually. A performance bonus is going to pay either $2,000 or $3,000. A teacher leader position is $2,000. And we're talking about, we haven't even talked about, I mean, we're keeping those components. The annual increase to baseline in a year's time runs somewhere between $700 and $1,000 based off of, what their present salary is at the time. So you're keeping the largest components of the plan. I mean, for whatever that's worth. You're keeping the largest components. And if this, and I'm sure it will, and as we go forward and we see how this plays out, we can always come back and add more to their baseline. The board can. You can add more to the hardest staff, to the performance, and to the leaders. But my recommendation is, and the reason why, is it's a very tough conversation for a principal to have when they're making an evaluation decision and it affects their salary. That's the piece that I have noticed over time that seems to be the most contingent.
And
Mr. Kerr,
yes, ma'am.
I want to direct this question to you, just because you were a principal
Yes, ma'am.
and worked in the school system for years. I have had some teachers from Charleston County that are no longer teachers, and I was just curious, why'd you leave? And one of the resound, and this is not a bunch of teachers, I don't want to say that, 2 or 3. And the reason that I got from their answer to me was, it was, the workplace was not a good workplace. It was very stressful workplace. Will this make that less stressful? That's the question.
That's a great question. I'm not sure. A lot of stress is self-imposed.
It is. I understand that. And different people.
I have an example sitting here in this gym that I preached to for years to chill down. It ain't that bad. It'll be okay. And I've had that conversation with many teachers. Some employees are just, they really put a lot of stress on themselves, a lot of a lot of things on themselves. Some don't put enough. And so I don't know that there's a exact answer to that. I think a lot of different things come up when you're talking about the decision to, do I want to stay here in this job that I've had for some time, or do I want to go over to another job in another county? It's never just about money. That may be the final decision, but it's never just about money, because a factor that y'all may not be aware of is that if a tenured teacher leaves employment in Trousdale County, and let's just say goes to Sumner County because it's a neighboring county that typically pays more than we do, especially now that they have increased their teacher pay, that teacher loses, they don't have tenure anymore. They have to start back at the bottom, so to speak, unless that county grants them tenure, and that's up to that county. They can do that. But so there's a lot of things, and you go into an unknown building where you've been working with these people for this amount of time, and now you're going to a whole different set of teachers that you're going to try to work in with and get to know and that type of thing. And the culture's going to be a lot different. So there's really not an easy answer for that. But I do know that it's never just one thing.
Oh, you're right, it's not. I understand that. I wondered if this would,
To me, what this
Ease the
gives us
pressure.
the opportunity, here's the way I look at it. I think we've got great people. Dr. Satterfield and I have actually talked about we couldn't have had as a successful semester in school this year without having the great people that we've had, that we've got. We've got bus drivers volunteering to work in food service so that we could keep in school.
Double routes.
We've got bus drivers double routing just to get kids to school. We've got teachers that go way above and beyond. They're teaching in-person classes. They're preparing videos and teaching online and through virtual school. There's not enough hours in the day for a lot of our teachers to do what they would like to do for their students. And not having a set salary schedule that's all they can do, we have the opportunity to reward our people should we decide to do so, and can afford to do so. So I like, for one, as I said earlier, I like having the pressure on me to help provide that for our teachers. One thing I can tell you, you think a hybrid schedule or 5 days a week in school gets you a lot of comments. This is going to get you a lot of comments when you start running into teachers around the community and things like that, because we're taking that decision now upon our shoulders. And so I would say some lobbying could come into effect there.
and I totally agree with everything you said. We've got great teachers.
We've got great people.
We've got great people in this school system.
We do.
We couldn't have made it this far if we hadn't have. I just want to make sure that the decision that I make is for the good of the teacher.
And here's the good thing about it. If we try this and we at some point decide it's not, we can come back and change it at any time.
Well, can I ask one more thing?
Sure.
I mean, how big a deal would it be, and I'm asking for myself, I know it has to be voted on, but if we move this to next month and had more time to think about it, it's got to be done?
Let me ask you to do this. I need to get a plan as we start assessment in the next semester, I need to be able to kick that off. I need to get a plan into the state. What I would ask you to do is to keep the annual baseline bonus in. I mean, and just pass the other parts.
Well, it's not a bonus, it's a...
Well, I know, I mean, no, a baseline, increase the annual baseline pay. So it's Part B. It's Part B on your handout. So what I'm saying is just put an X on Part B and keep it and just pass the other components. That seems to be the only sticking
Or
point.
we can pass the whole thing and come back next month and put that part back in, if that's what we want to do. Dr. Satterfield he does have to get a plan into the state.
I would personally like to hold that part. I don't know how any of the rest of you feel.
Okay. So you want to keep it in now, and then we can discuss it.
No, don't put it in there. Exit out of it.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying, yeah, because
okay.
my recommendation is to take it out.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, on that red, I put an X on it, which keeps it in.
So what you're saying is,
Oh, I thought you were wanting to remove that.
I
he does.
was, but what I'm saying
But
is.
he was saying in
Yeah, okay.
response to what you said,
Yeah.
we could leave it in.
I just would, I mean, obviously, I'm
what
getting
I put
reached
in
out
red
to,
is take it out.
and I would like to discuss it further and give people, because I know I'm going to hear about it, and that's great, and I want to. You know, if it's not going to, you know, if it's not something that we have to,
I would encourage all teachers to talk to their board members about it.
yeah. I mean, do y'all agree with that? I mean, you know,
Like I said, it really doesn't matter which way we go on it. We just have to decide something, because we can come back next month and put something back in or take something out.
well, I just don't want the teachers to feel like we rushed into that and made that decision. I'd rather let that roll over a month and
Okay.
talk to them, and
All right,
maybe
so-
they come
understand.
around to the new idea that, you know, it might be better for them if
Like I
we do
said,
it.
some of them have never worked under a different plan. And so I can see why that would be, make somebody nervous.
Yeah, and the only thing, here's the only thing I was saying is, I thought it'd be a good time to try it. We didn't get any teacher evaluation data last year. I don't know what it will look like this year. Our teachers didn't get their increased baseline pay last year. I mean, there's a piece where they got paid the same as they did last year, but that didn't kick in this year. And I don't know what it will do. So that'd be great. I mean, y'all talk about it, but, so Mr. Kerr, I've just wrote up the motion is accept all recommendations except Part B.
Well, the first thing we need to do is reinstate the plan itself.
Yes.
You said that at the very
Yes,
beginning.
yes, uh-huh,
Because then back in, what was it, August, we took the plan out.
right.
So do we need to have a separate motion to reinstate the plan, or just include that in this one?
That's what this is. The proposal that I have for you is to.
We don't need
accept-
to just verbally say reinstate, we can just go with...
Whatever, if you'd like to do that.
No, I just want to make it where we got it right, so that we don't get, so the state doesn't get on to us about it.
And state all recommendations except Part B. How's that?
Well, we also want to, that's right, that got it. I was wanting to make sure of that line 19, but that takes care of
Yeah,
that.
everything but the Part B.
Yeah. That's what you've asked for, right?
Yes.
All right, so what I'm looking for is a motion to reinstate the compensation plan with all recommendations made tonight except taking out Part B. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Towns. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously.
That sounded like you lost her.
I mean, she said aye and then hung up. We got that vote in.
Yeah, she did.
We lost you.
No, you lost me.
You know what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I do like the fact knowing that people are at home watching and
Absolutely.
listening and,
They can hear us and they know what we're saying.
right, that helps a lot, and it's more participation and that type of thing, and I applaud them for getting in touch so that questions could be asked and answered, because they had that opportunity to come and do that themselves, but it's probably a whole lot safer for them under these conditions to do it this way, so I think that's great. We do have one other item left under new business, and that is the 21-20 school calendar. We talked about this on Tuesday night. We noted that all those eligible to vote on it passed option number 1 by 80-something% of the vote, and that pretty much is the same, leaves our calendar the same as it's been for the past several years. We will have school will start in late July. We will have a fall break, spring break, a good Christmas break, Thanksgiving, just like we've been doing the last several years. So this will, voting on the calendar tonight is something we've been doing for several years, which gives parents the opportunity to plan vacations and things like that, because good Lord willing, and the vaccine works, people will actually be able to go on vacation again next year and that type of thing. So, is there any discussion about the school district calendar? Do I hear a motion to accept option 1 as the calendar for next year?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, second by Ms. Waller, to accept option 1 as the district calendar for the 2021 school year. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously. Any questions about the account analysis, vendor checks, expenditures, or anything? Any board member would like to discuss? If not, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Crook, second.
I see.
Ms. Towns seconds. We are adjourned. Everybody have a nice Christmas.
Ms. Waller, I hope you get feeling better.
Yes.
All right, so you guys.
All right, bye-bye. Okay,
I can't.
what time is it?